Imagine falling asleep in a beautiful Victorian bedroom. Velvet curtains drawn tight, candlelight trembling against patterned wallpaper. A grand wooden bed waits beneath layers of lace. Everything appears refined, elegant, even romantic. But behind those closed doors lived secrets no polite society dared to discuss. Bedrooms were not places of comfort alone. They were stages of fear, illness, control, superstition, and silent suffering. What happened at night in Victorian homes rarely appeared in history books. Beneath embroidered blankets lay strange rituals, dangerous beliefs, and truths so unsettling. Families worked desperately to hide them from the outside world. In modern America, the bedroom represents privacy, relaxation, and personal freedom. But during the Victorian era, the bedroom served a very different purpose. It was less a sanctuary and more a carefully controlled environment shaped by social expectations, morality, and fear of scandal. To understand Victorian bedrooms, one must first understand Victorian society itself. Respectability was everything. A family's reputation could rise or collapse based on appearances alone. Homes were designed not simply for living, but for performance. Parlors displayed wealth. Dining rooms displayed discipline. And bedrooms, though hidden from guests, revealed the deepest anxieties of the age. Ironically, the most private room in the house was also the most regulated. Many middle and upper-class Victorian couples did not share beds consistently. Separate sleeping arrangements were common among wealthier households. Husbands often occupied adjoining rooms or entirely separate chambers. This separation wasn't necessarily emotional. It was considered medically responsible. Doctors of the time warned that shared sleep could weaken the body. Victorian medical theory believed that during sleep, individuals released harmful vapors. Sharing a bed meant exchanging these invisible toxins. Poor ventilation, heavy curtains, and coal heating already made indoor air dangerous. So separation was seen as protection rather than distance. Yet for working-class families, privacy simply did not exist. Entire households slept in single rooms. Parents, children, and sometimes boarders shared beds out of necessity. Overcrowded sleeping conditions became breeding grounds for disease tuberculosis. Influenza and scarlet fever spread silently through the night. Nighttime was dangerous. Without electricity, darkness transformed homes into unfamiliar spaces. Gas lamps flickered unpredictably, and candles caused countless fatal fires. Many Victorians feared going to sleep because sleep itself resembled death too closely, and death was never far away. Unlike today, where hospitals manage most endings of life, Victorians usually died in their bedrooms. The same bed used for rest, illness, childbirth, and marriage often became the deathbed. Families gathered around as loved ones took their final breaths beneath familiar blankets. After death, something unsettling happened. Mirrors were covered immediately. Victorians believed uncovered mirrors could trap the departing soul or invite spirits back into the room. Clocks were stopped at the moment of death, freezing time itself. Curtains remained closed for days, leaving bedrooms suspended between life and mourning. These rituals transformed ordinary sleeping spaces into emotional landscapes haunted by memory. But death was only one of the bedroom's hidden roles. Victorian nights were governed by strict moral expectations, especially for women. Young, unmarried women were often monitored intensely. Bedroom doors might remain slightly open, or rooms positioned near parents to ensure propriety. Even architecture enforced morality. Staircases creaked intentionally, serving as early warning systems against secret nighttime movement. Privacy, particularly female privacy, was considered dangerous. Advice manuals warned that too much solitude encouraged imagination, emotional instability, or moral decline. Women were encouraged to keep busy even before sleep reading approved religious texts or sewing by lamplight, until exhaustion overcame thought itself. Sleep was meant to be disciplined, and yet anxiety filled the darkness. Victorians suffered heavily from insomnia, though they described it differently. Medical journals spoke of nervous agitation or night terrors. Industrialization had transformed daily life. Factories roared, cities expanded rapidly, and urban noise disrupted natural sleep cycles. Many people relied on strange nighttime remedies. Laudanum, a liquid mixture containing opium, became one of the most common sleep aids of the century. Sold openly in pharmacies, it promised calm dreams and relief from worry. Mothers used it, workers depended on it, and even children received small doses. Addiction quietly entered Victorian bedrooms under the disguise of medicine. Heavy feather mattresses, now symbols of luxury, introduced unexpected problems. Stuffed with horsehair, straw, or feathers, beds often hosted insects, fleas, lice, and bedbugs thrived within warm fabrics. Nighttime itching was so common that scratching tools were kept beside beds. Cleanliness, despite Victorian obsession with appearance, lagged behind reality. Bathing frequently was considered unhealthy in early decades of the era. Many believed water exposure weakened the body. Instead, perfumes and powders masked odors. Bedrooms smelled of lavender oils, coal smoke, damp fabric, and human presence. Windows were rarely opened fully during winter for fear of deadly night air. Fresh air, paradoxically, was viewed as a threat. Another secret lay hidden beneath the bed itself. Chamber pots. Indoor plumbing remained rare for much of the century, meaning nighttime bathroom visits required discreet solutions. Servants or family members emptied these containers each morning. Etiquette demanded silence about such necessities, reinforcing the illusion of refinement. Victorian elegance depended heavily on ignoring uncomfortable truths. Even dreams carried meaning. Dream interpretation fascinated Victorians. Nightmares were seen as warnings or spiritual messages. Some families placed protective objects near beds, Bibles, locks of hair, or small charms to prevent supernatural interference during sleep. Children especially feared the dark. Stories of spirits, wandering souls, and nighttime visitors were common cultural beliefs. Without modern psychology, sleep paralysis or vivid dreams were often interpreted as ghostly encounters. Many reported feeling watched while lying awake at night. Bedrooms became places where imagination and fear merged seamlessly. Perhaps the most surprising reality was how little rest Victorians actually received. Historians now believe many followed a pattern called segmented sleep. People slept for several hours, woke naturally around midnight, and remained awake for 1 or 2 hours before returning to sleep. During this quiet interval, individuals prayed, read, reflected, or simply sat in candlelight. The midnight hour was strangely alive. Outside, cities fell silent except for distant carriage wheels. Inside, thoughts surfaced that daylight suppressed. Diaries reveal moments of loneliness, ambition, regret, and longing written during these nighttime awakenings. Victorian bedrooms witnessed truths never spoken aloud during the day. Behind embroidered pillows and polished furniture existed exhaustion, fear of illness, strict moral pressure, and constant awareness of mortality. The room meant for rest carried the full emotional weight of Victorian life. And as the century progressed, another transformation slowly began, one that would introduce even darker secrets into these private spaces. Because not every Victorian bedroom belonged to loving families or peaceful homes. Some concealed desperation. Some hid transactions never acknowledged publicly. And some became silent prisons where appearances mattered more than happiness. Those stories waited behind locked doors, and history rarely recorded what truly happened once the candles burned low. When midnight settled fully over Victorian cities, bedrooms revealed another reality, one far removed from the polished image preserved in paintings and family portraits. The Victorian age proudly called itself an era of morality, discipline, and progress. Yet behind closed bedroom doors, Contradictions quietly ruled everyday life. Respectability existed by day. Secrecy ruled the night. As industrial cities like London, New York, and Boston expanded during the 19th century, homes became symbols of success. But within many of these homes, bedrooms served purposes society refused to acknowledge openly. Marriage itself, often romanticized today, operated very differently in Victorian culture. Many marriages were arrangements shaped by economics, family alliances, or social advancement rather than affection. Emotional compatibility mattered less than stability. Once married, couples entered clearly defined roles. And nowhere were these expectations more intensely enforced than in the bedroom. Victorian advice manuals rarely discussed intimacy directly. Instead, they described marriage as a moral duty. Women, in particular, were taught that physical desire was improper. A respectable wife was expected to remain passive, modest, and emotionally restrained. Expressions of pleasure were often interpreted as signs of moral weakness. Doctors even promoted the belief that excessive passion endangered female health. Medical texts warned that strong emotions could damage nerves, disturb reproductive organs, or lead to hysteria. A diagnosis applied broadly to women experiencing anxiety, sadness, independence, or frustration. Bedrooms, therefore, became places of silence rather than communication. Many women entered marriage with little understanding of intimacy. Conversations about the body were avoided entirely before weddings. Mothers rarely explained marital realities to daughters, believing innocence preserved virtue. The result was fear. Letters and private diaries discovered decades later reveal young brides, describing wedding nights with confusion and dread. Some compared the experience to medical procedures rather than emotional connection. Yet outward appearances remained perfect. Curtains stayed drawn, servants spoke carefully, and families maintained the illusion of harmony. But Victorian bedrooms also witnessed another hidden reality: illness disguised as morality. The 19th century experienced widespread outbreaks of tuberculosis, often called consumption. The disease spread easily through shared indoor air, lingering especially in poorly ventilated sleeping spaces. Ironically, the pale appearance caused by tuberculosis became fashionable. Delicate thinness, flushed cheeks, and faint exhaustion were viewed as signs of refinement among upper-class women. Bedrooms transformed into sick rooms where prolonged illness became almost aestheticized. Patients rested for months surrounded by heavy drapery, meant to protect them from drafts. Unfortunately, these same conditions worsened infections. Sickbeds dominated domestic life. Family members whispered around sleeping patients. Footsteps softened by thick carpets. Medicine bottles lined bedside tables. Tonics containing alcohol, morphine, or opium offered temporary comfort. Sleep, once again, depended on substances. Meanwhile, servants experienced an entirely different nighttime world. In large Victorian homes, maids often slept in cramped attic rooms barely large enough for a narrow bed. Unlike the decorative master bedrooms below, servant quarters lacked heating and proper insulation. After exhausting 16-hour workdays, domestic workers collapsed into sleep only to wake before dawn. Privacy remained almost non-existent. Female servants faced particular vulnerability. Historical court records reveal disturbing patterns of exploitation by employers or male household members. Bedrooms meant for rest sometimes became spaces of coercion, hidden beneath strict class hierarchy. Public scandal threatened entire families, so incidents were rarely reported. Silence protected reputation. The architecture of Victorian homes unintentionally supported secrecy. Multiple staircases separated servants from owners, allowing movement through houses unseen. Back corridors and hidden doors enabled quiet nighttime activity without disturbing guests. Respectable households maintained appearances, while private realities unfolded unnoticed. Outside wealthy homes, urban boarding houses presented even darker conditions. Rapid industrial growth brought thousands seeking work. Overcrowded lodging forced strangers to share sleeping spaces. Beds were rented in shifts, a practice known as hot bedding, where one worker slept while another labored, exchanging the same mattress within hours. Sheets rarely cooled. Disease spread rapidly through these environments, and exhaustion blurred distinctions between day and night. Sleep became survival rather than restoration. And yet, Victorian fascination with dreams continued to grow. Spiritualism surged during the mid-19th century, especially after massive wartime losses and high mortality rates. Many Americans and Europeans believed the bedroom offered the closest connection to the spiritual world. Seances frequently occurred in private chambers after dark. Participants gathered around small tables, candles flickering as mediums attempted communication with departed loved ones. Bedrooms felt appropriate, intimate spaces where life and death already intersected. Some families rearranged sleeping rooms entirely to encourage spiritual visitation. Objects belonging to deceased relatives remained untouched for years. Beds stayed made exactly as they were on the final morning of life. The belief persisted that disturbing these spaces might sever emotional or supernatural connections. Night amplified grief. Children raised in Victorian households often slept surrounded by reminders of lost siblings. Infant mortality rates were painfully high, and it was common for families to lose multiple children. Post-mortem photography became one of the era's most haunting customs. Families posed deceased children peacefully in beds, arranged as though sleeping. These images served as final memories. In a time when photography itself was rare and precious, bedrooms preserved both love and loss simultaneously. But perhaps the most unsettling secret involved mental health. Victorians lacked modern psychological understanding. Individuals experiencing depression, trauma, or anxiety were frequently confined within their own homes. Bedrooms sometimes functioned as informal isolation rooms. Heavy furniture prevented escape. Windows were secured. Family members described sufferers as needing rest cures, treatments requiring prolonged bed confinement, silence, and restricted stimulation. Patients, especially women, were forbidden from reading, writing, or socializing. Weeks turned into months. Rather than healing, isolation often deepened emotional suffering. Diaries from recovered patients describe overwhelming loneliness. Within beautifully furnished rooms designed to appear comforting, the bedroom became a gilded cage. Even children experienced strict nighttime discipline. Many were trained to fear moral failure above all else. Religious instruction emphasized constant self-examination, even before sleep. Young Victorians prayed nightly for forgiveness of thoughts they barely understood. Darkness encouraged imagination and guilt. Stories of punishment, divine judgment, and supernatural observation lingered long after candles were extinguished. Some children slept with lights burning despite family expense, terrified of unseen presences. Fear lived quietly beside elegance. By the late 19th century, technological change began reshaping these experiences. Gaslighting improved visibility, but introduced new dangers. Leaks caused hallucinations, headaches, and unexplained illness within bedrooms. Some historians now suspect chronic gas exposure contributed to reported hauntings and strange nighttime sensations. Whispers in empty rooms, moving shadows, feelings of being watched. What Victorians interpreted as supernatural may sometimes have been environmental poisoning slowly affecting the mind. Still, belief remained powerful, because in truth, Victorian bedrooms were never merely physical spaces. All concealed beneath layers of etiquette. And as society approached the dawn of the 20th century, another hidden transformation began emerging, one that challenged Victorian control itself. New ideas about privacy, desire, individual freedom. Soon, the bedroom would evolve from a monitored moral space into something radically different, a personal refuge shaped by modern identity. But before that change arrived, countless stories remained buried within those quiet rooms. Stories of rebellion, forbidden relationships, hidden independence, and nights when someone finally chose to defy everything Victorian society demanded. By the final decades of the Victorian era, something subtle but irreversible was beginning to change behind bedroom doors. For nearly 60 years, Victorian society had controlled sleep, behavior, emotion, and even thought itself. Bedrooms had functioned as spaces of discipline, illness, mourning, and silence. Yet as the 19th century moved toward its end, the private room quietly became the birthplace of rebellion. Not loud rebellion, not public revolution, but something far more powerful: personal freedom. Electric light slowly entered homes during the 1880s and 1890s, transforming nighttime forever. For the first time in human history, darkness could be pushed back instantly with the flip of a switch. Bedrooms no longer depended entirely on candle flames or gas lamps. Night lost some of its fear, but it also lost its secrecy. Under electric illumination, people stayed awake longer. Reading after sunset became common. Newspapers, novels, and personal letters filled late-night hours once reserved for prayer or enforced sleep. Ideas began entering bedrooms, and ideas changed everything. Young men and women increasingly questioned Victorian expectations surrounding marriage and morality. Literature discussing romance, psychology, and individuality circulated widely. American audiences, especially in rapidly modernizing cities, embraced concepts of emotional compatibility. Bedrooms gradually shifted from supervised moral spaces into places of private thought. For women, this transformation proved especially profound. The late Victorian period witnessed the emergence of what newspapers called the New Woman. Educated, opinionated, and increasingly independent, she challenged long-standing assumptions about female obedience, and her bedroom became her sanctuary. Women began keeping personal desks inside sleeping chamber spaces reserved for writing journals, correspondence, or creative work. Diaries from this period reveal emotional honesty, rarely expressed publicly. Inside these pages lived ambition, frustration, desire for autonomy. Some women secretly pursued education through nighttime reading after household duties ended. Others wrote poetry or essays never intended for publication, fearing social backlash. The bedroom, once a place of control, slowly became a laboratory of self-discovery. But change rarely arrived peacefully. Generational tension grew inside Victorian homes. Parents raised under strict moral codes struggled to understand younger family members embracing modern thinking. Arguments about independence, courtship, and personal choice often unfolded privately behind bedroom doors where servants could not overhear. Privacy itself became revolutionary. Locks appeared more frequently on bedroom doors toward the century's end. Personal ownership of space began replacing collective family oversight. Adolescence demanded individuality rather than constant supervision. For the first time, a bedroom truly belonged to its occupant. Meanwhile, medical understanding advanced rapidly. Doctors slowly abandoned earlier beliefs about poisonous night air and emotional fragility. Fresh air became encouraged rather than feared. Windows opened wider. Heavy drapery disappeared. Sunlight entered rooms once kept dim for decades. Sleep itself improved. Iron beds replaced insect-filled wooden frames. Washable bedding reduced disease transmission. Indoor plumbing eliminated chamber pots, removing one of the era's most uncomfortable nightly realities. Bedrooms grew cleaner, healthier, safer, yet not all secrets vanished so easily. Victorian repression had created emotional consequences lingering beneath modernization. Historians studying personal letters from the period discovered widespread loneliness among married couples who had spent years avoiding emotional openness. Many struggled to adapt to intimacy after decades of restraint. Some bedrooms remained quiet not from fear, but from unfamiliarity with emotional vulnerability. At the same time, urban anonymity introduced new freedoms previously unimaginable. Cities like New York and Chicago allowed individuals to live independently, away from family supervision. Boarding houses evolved into apartments where single adults controlled their own sleeping spaces. For some, this meant liberation. For others, isolation. Bedrooms now reflected personality rather than social expectation. Decorations became personal choices instead of moral statements. Photographs of friends replaced religious imagery. Bookshelves replaced prayer stands. Identity entered the room. And with identity came honesty. Late Victorian writers began openly discussing topics once forbidden: mental health, marital dissatisfaction, and emotional well-being. The idea that rest required psychological comfort slowly gained acceptance. Sleep was no longer purely physical, it was emotional. Even dream interpretation changed. Rather than supernatural warnings, dreams became reflections of the mind itself. Early psychological thinkers suggested that nighttime thoughts revealed hidden desires or unresolved fears. The bedroom transformed into a place where the inner self emerged safely. Yet perhaps the most touching transformation involved children. As child-rearing philosophies evolved, separate nurseries and personalized bedrooms became common among middle-class families. Childhood began to be viewed as a protected stage of life, rather than preparation for strict adulthood. Bedtime stories replaced moral lectures. Comfort replaced fear. Soft lighting replaced total darkness. For the first time, sleep could feel safe. By 1901, when Queen Victoria's death symbolically ended the era, the Victorian bedroom had undergone a remarkable evolution. What began as a controlled, anxiety-filled environment shaped by disease, superstition, and rigid morality slowly transformed into something recognizable today, a private refuge. But the echoes of earlier decades never fully disappeared, because within those ornate rooms had lived generations who loved cautiously, mourned deeply, feared illness constantly, and navigated lives defined by appearances. Every polished bedframe concealed invisible histories. Every embroidered pillow witnessed whispered confessions. Every closed curtain protected truth society refused to acknowledge. Modern bedrooms, quiet, comfortable, personal, exist partly because of those hidden struggles. The Victorians taught future generations the importance of privacy precisely because they lived so long without it. Tonight, when someone turns off a bedside lamp, adjusts soft blankets, or enjoys solitude without fear of judgment, they unknowingly inherit the final legacy of those shadowed rooms. The dark secrets of Victorian bedrooms were never simply scandalous stories. They were human stories. Stories of control giving way to freedom, silence giving way to voice, and fear slowly surrendering to comfort. Long after candlelight faded and heavy curtains were pulled aside, the bedroom remained what it had always secretly been, a place where history sleeps beside us, and where, in the quiet hours of night, humanity finally learned how to rest.